Hi, I'm Tim, game designer at gameXcite, and in this video we're diving into the building strategy layer of Star Trek Voyager Across the Unknown to show you how to rebuild and manage Voyager, customizing your ship for different gameplay styles and narrative branches, as you have seen in our What If trailer. In Star Trek Voyager Across the Unknown, the goal is to get home. But to get home, you have to survive. While a lot of people compare our game to live simulation games based on the gameXcite view, from a gameplay perspective, we actually had survival strategy titles in mind when designing the core loop. You are under constant pressure to balance crew morale and resource scarcity. And while some resources can be produced or traded, the vast majority must be gathered by exploring, forcing you to keep moving. Watch our exploration deep dive video for more information. Ship and crew management takes place in a detailed side view of the U.S.S. Voyager, reminiscent of the panel at the back of the bridge, with most of the ship's systems represented by rooms. This cross-section gives you a complete overview, from the bridge down to main engineering. When you first arrive in the Delta Quadrant, the ship is heavily damaged. In our game, most rooms were destroyed and the majority of the crew died. Entire decks are blocked by rubble, and life support systems are offline. You can clear this rubble, which provides some resources early on and frees up building space. Our main goal was to force you to prioritize. You cannot build every room or research every technology in a single playthrough. Do you lean into building a strong warship to survive the next battle? A science vessel to maximize resource production? Or do you prioritize the crew's morale above everything else? Your build defines your story. Rooms unlock specific dialogue options and unique solutions during missions. You have to choose the right strategy to write the story you want. The heartbeat of the game are cycles. A cycle passes when the ship moves. Every cycle consumes deuterium to power the warp core, which in turn provides energy. The cycle counter indicates how many cycles you have until your deuterium runs out. Building, repairing, or upgrading rooms takes a certain amount of cycles, an available work team, and different resources. Duranium and tritanium are the basic building resources and mostly gathered in missions or at points of interest. Dilithium is a rarely found substance mostly used to upgrade the warp core, build shuttles, and progress research. Bioneural geopacks are one of the two advanced building resources and exclusively produced in biolabs, as they are specific to Voyager. Nanites are used to operate Borg technology and are produced in the biolab, or gathered at Borg points of interests. To rebuild Voyager and survive the increasingly difficult challenges of the Delta Quadrant, you have to expand. You need additional decks which provide more building space, but unlocking new decks isn't free. You must repair life support to make them accessible, which is expensive and takes time. But even if you have the space, you face other limits. In order to function, rooms consume energy and need available crew to operate. Rooms may get damaged during combat or exploration, with repairs costing resources. But your biggest concern is hull integrity. If it hits 0, Voyager is destroyed. Assign work teams and engineering offices to repair the hull, which then are not available for other building tasks. Or look out for repair stations during your journey, but their services aren't cheap. If you want to upgrade and further improve your ship, you need to look into the tech tree to research technologies which unlock passive improvements, new rooms, and upgrades. Research takes time, but also costs science points, which are generated in science labs. The more, the merrier. The tech tree is divided into multiple categories. For example, if you want to get more self-sufficient and produce resources on board, take a look into the science category. Or you might want to enhance your combat power by investing in the combat tab. If you want to unlock higher quality quarters to improve morale, you have to research in the crew tab. If you struggle with deuterium upkeep, you could enhance the warp core's efficiency in the engineering tab. And later on, the Borg tab is unlocked. Furthermore, Placing heroes with the associated skills into rooms will improve the room's efficiency, making them valuable rewards in missions, or adding weight to their death. As mentioned at the beginning, morale is absolutely critical. There are many factors impacting morale, from a lack of accommodation and rations, over dialogue choices, to sickness, injury, or simply homesickness. And in turn, it impacts the efficiency of the ship. But most importantly, when morale drops to zero and you don't react quickly, the crew eventually mutinies and it's game over. It's a constant balancing act between expanding your capabilities and keeping the ship from falling apart, as well as keeping your crew happy and keeping them alive. With the basics out of the way, let's continue explaining the key rooms and associated decisions that go into your ship build. Main engineering houses the warp core and is vital for energy management. As explained, each room requires a certain amount of energy. The amount of energy produced in turn depends on the warp core level, but the higher it is, the more deuterium it requires per cycle. As resources are scarce, you will regularly find yourself turning off rooms and prioritizing systems. And beware, if all deuterium is depleted, the warp core falls back to gray mode, which produces just enough energy for movement and other basic functions, but leaves the ship defenseless and the crew without amenities, quickly dropping morale. Batteries store excess energy of the warp core. They serve as a temporary energy source when the energy demand is higher than the energy output, or when deuterium is depleted, delaying the activation of the gray mode if enough energy is stored. If you build enough batteries, you can power the ship's systems for a while. Maybe just long enough to reach the next deuterium deposit. Holodecks and observation lounges improve your morale, but the former requires lots of energy, while the latter reduces your hull integrity as a side effect. Another important decision awaits in the mess hall. Do you want to serve freshly cooked meals using food, or offer replicator rations that boost morale at the expense of deuterium? In contrast, emergency rations do not require anything, but are really disliked by the crew, draining morale. Luckily, food can be grown in hydroponic bays, both small and large, to make you more self-sufficient, especially in Borg sectors where collecting food is difficult. Likewise, waste assemblers can produce small amounts of deuterium, duranium, or, if upgraded, tritanium. You may also repair the Aero Shuttle Bay, only hinted at in the show, and used in our game to trade resources or to decrease the sector threat level, which defines the chance of random attacks while traveling. If you focus more on resource production or morale and less on your offensive or defensive capabilities, the bridge allows you to hire an allied ship that supports you in combat for both initial as well as recurring expenses. But don't forget to keep upgrading your allies in the tech tree, or they won't stand a chance against later enemies. The shuttle bay is a place to build and house shuttles. Upgrading this room allows you to build more shuttles, increasing your chances at certain points of interest. The cloaking device is one of the rarest technologies you can acquire throughout your journey and requires vast amounts of energy, but allows you to flee combat, or in some cases, avoid it entirely. And finally, there are the combat rooms. From basics like shield generators, torpedo launchers, and phasers, to more exotic systems like disruptors, energy dissipators, metaphasic shields, or even a Borg cutting beam. You can learn more about combat by watching our combat deep dive video. Whether you stick to Starfleet protocols or embrace Borg technology, the ship you build will determine if and how you make it home. Thank you for your time, and we hope to see you in the Delta Quadrant soon.